Hey girlfriends, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be creating our very own DIY blunt cut bob. Now, this is the same hair that was featured in my Beauty Forever unboxing. So I wanted to show you guys exactly how I created the wig, how I styled it, as well as how I got my closure to lay pretty flat. So starting off with our closure, I did not like how bright the parting was, so I wanted to have more of a natural feel to it. So what we're going to do is start by bleaching our closure. I'm using some BW2 powder as well as 40 volume developer, and I just mix the two together just to create a small paste just to lay on top of the closure. If you guys like to see a more in-depth tutorial on how I bleach my closures, please let me know in the comments below, as well as vote in the poll. And here are the results of my closure bleached. It gives it more of a natural feel, and it looks like it's pretty much just growing out of your scalp. So like I said, I got the entire closure bleached, and now it's time for me to customize my closure. In the meantime, I went ahead and co-washed my other three bundles, my 14, 12, and 10 inch. So now back to the closure, I'm going to go ahead and define my parting. So for this blunt cut bob, I went ahead and created a middle part. So I just wanted to make sure it was super sharp, and I wanted to also lay out some baby hairs, that way I could be able to pull my hair back or into a little seamless bun. And using some tweezers, I went ahead and plucked that part out to define it, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab my first bundle. So like I said, I got the inches 10, 12, and 14 with a 10 inch closure. So the very first bundle that I laid down was my 10 inch. I knew I was going to end up cutting this hair super short, so there was no reason for me to have the hair going in the opposite order. So I laid down my tracks, 10 inch first, then the 12, then the 14. That way they end up falling at a very similar point. When constructing a wig that is going to be worn straight, you want to make sure that you are sewing the hair from the weft going out through the cap. That way it lays nice and flat. And I am practicing the fold over method, so I'm pretty much just folding over the tracks on the ends. So now we're on to our second bundle. And it's super easy to do this flip over method. Like I said, you're just going to sew all the way down to the edge of the cap and then just simply flip the track over. When you're sewing the hair from the track into the actual cap, you'll pretty much just minimize the amount of bulkiness that you end up getting when you don't sew the hair from the weft into the actual cap. And this is the secret to getting a flat fold over wig. So now that we're all complete, we can go ahead and work on cutting out the cap from the wig. So as you can see here, I sewed around the lace closure. You're pretty much just going to sew down the lace closure around the sides as well as the back of the closure. That will leave you a nice open spot to cut the cap off. And now we're just going to go ahead and customize our hairline and our part. I didn't like how dense the actual hairline was, so I went ahead and went back in to pluck out those hairs. And now we're on to the easy steps. We're just going to flat iron the hair straight to prep for cutting. Don't forget to use a heat protectant before you go ahead and use any hot tools on your hair. That way you don't end up frying the hair. And don't worry about bumping the ends. We are just getting it bone straight. That way we can have a nice even cut. As I told you guys before, I had a lot of flyaways with this hair, so I just added in a little bit of oil sheen to lay down those flyaways. That way I get a nice flat hairdo. And as you can see, I went ahead and laid the wig onto my head to cut right above my collarbone. That is going to be my guideline for this entire haircut. So pretty much just try on the wig, cut where your collarbone is, and then put it back onto your mannequin head to cut a straight blunt line. Once you get over to the front of the opposite side, make sure that the two sides are even and just continue to cut that blunt cut. So now I just went ahead and just softened out the blunt ends, as well as add some body and movement to the hair. That way when it's blowing in the wind, it has that nice and natural look to it. This is what's going to give you all that body and movement when the wind blows. If this is your first time cutting, please be careful with these scissors. So I went ahead and braided down my hair to apply my wig, and I just went ahead and laid down my baby hairs prior to putting the wig on. You can add a little bit of concealer at the bottom of the cap for a seamless blend, and use some hairspray as well as a curling one to lay that part really flat so you have a nice flat wig and it's not too bulky. Last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and pull my hair away so I can begin to bump my ends using a flat iron. Now you're just going to straighten the hair, and when you get down to the ends is when you're going to bump. You don't want to bump it too early before you end up with a super bob-like hairstyle. I wanted a slight bump on the ends. I find it easier to start from the back of my head and work my way up to the middle, and then last but not least the top and the front pieces. And of course, I still had a little bit of flyaways, so I used some oil and just rubbed it between my hands and added it to the flyaways to lay them down nice and flat. And here is my final result. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was self-explanatory. Please let me know if you guys like to see any in-depth tutorials on whether it's the DIY closure, how to bleach it, or maybe a more in-depth how to cut a bob video. Just let me know in the comments below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to check out my Beauty Forever unboxing and review, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you guys.